Easy Security is easy to install in NAV 2013. This one is going to be a short presentation how to get that done. First, we're going to download objects, import a license, and export the source code. And some of this is done already. Then for roles and login, we're going to run the installation wizard. We're going to look at the application, record permissions. Field level, we're going to implement code changes, and then a new application will be also. But let's first get the license imported in here. So I need to run the development environment and upload a new license. And I have placed a developer license here, but it needs a license that has access to Easy Security to run. So the server license will update. When the server license is updated, you need to restart the service engine. So I'm going to restart the 2013 service tier. Next thing is to import the objects, and from the Mergetool.com site, I'm already downloaded the latest version of the Easy Security objects, and they're also placed on the display. And there's objects in here all the way from 2.6 to 7.0, but I just need to import the one from 7.0 or 2013. There's also online help, language module, and many other things. So let's get to the object designer. Object. It's only new object, there's no changes to any existing objects. I'm also going to import another file for the field level security. There's a few objects being modified, and I need to import these ones also initially. So, but I have all the objects. Already went through and exported all the objects to a text file, but you normally just select all objects and export this one. And when you export, select the text format. This one requires 500 items. But everything else is now done from the rotor client. So let's open up 2013. And when you install Easy Security, you really need to do it in a new company. Because all the settings in security, you probably want to protect those so only one person can actually get to that, or only the right person can change security. So let's go in and create a new company. And again, that has to be done from the classic client. I just call this one Easy Security. It's now creating all the tables in the SQL database. So go back here and open up my list of companies. I have my new Easy Security company down here. It initializes a company, and I don't need any data because I'm going to do recording to my company. Another thing that actually exists in here is a new role center and the install wizard that actually get that. But I have my new Easy Security. I can go to roles and logins. If you install both parts, you should always install the roles and logins first. So I go to my security setup. When I initialize a complete setup, everything in here is set correctly. I only need to select my file with all the source code in. This source code needs to match the database, so it will contain all the customization and other things. Creates a new profile as a Easy Security role center. Then it creates a restore point from the live system, basically taking a snapshot of your current security settings. And then it's going to write that restore point into Easy Security with the wizard. And that will have all the information you used to have still exist, but it will now also be copied to Easy Security. So you start with exactly what you used to have. Now it's running a source code analyzer, and that takes a little time because there's 2.5 million lines of code or something like that it has to go through. Source code analysis is now finishing. It has been reading the complete source code. Now created all the row details. That is more complex way of maintaining roles, or more advanced. So it's finished, and when I click OK, I have basically created the default setup, so I can go ahead and close that. If I now go look at my roles and logins, all the logins that used to be on the users has now been moved in here. If I look at Susan, I can see she has 3 access control. If I wanted to go in and make some modifications, you can go in, and one of the features in here is you can have permission as a user ID. So I'm going to say that John is actually having the same permission as Peter in here. I can also go into Peter then, and instead of assigning individual permissions, I will assign a group of permissions. And I'll create a new one in here. And this one will just be sales. And I need to add permissions in here. This one is actually everything, so I'm both going to add the basic, but then I actually also going to add additional ones that everything the user can do in here. So if I go in and find some of the sales receivable ones, I want the customer edit, I want the posted, I want to be able to create documents, and I maybe also want to have the person be able to create journal lines and post documents in here. So I'll click OK, and I will add all those ones in here to my role also, and my group of roles. So I can go in and select my new role group. Same way as you can group individual roles, you can actually also group companies. So if I go in here, I'll make one that is just called Kronos. And I'll actually go down and add my 3 Kronos companies into this role. So I'll select that one, and now this one is actually a combination of these sales roles and 3 companies in here. So if I go here and update my login, I'm actually with a single line specifying 21 combination of company and roles, and I also get something that is called summary permission. And it basically is just a summary of what the user can do for each of these tables by company out here, including the level of permissions. So this one is maintenance of login. The other part in here is the ability to record permissions. And to do that, you actually use the SQL profiler. And the SQL profiler is part of the Management Studio, and I have installed the 2012 Management Studio in there. So under Tools, you can find the SQL profiler. To do an efficient recording in here, we need to import a template. And those ones are inside the installation folder also in here. I have a 2012 template. I'm also going to make that my default, so I don't have to select it every time. So I'm just going to make that one my default template. And then I can go in and start a new tracing. And this one will capture all my permissions that goes between the service tier and the database. So let me select another company. So select Kronos USA. Going to look at a customer. You can see the profiler here get really busy. I'm just going to put in a suite number and say that's all I want to be able to edit a customer. And I can now go stop my SQL profiler, save this one as a trace XML file. And I can now go back, select my Easy Security company again. Look at my roles and go create a new one. And this one will be an edit customer role. Instead of adding permissions directly, I'm going to add a recording. And for that recording, I'm going to import my SQL tracing here. It goes through, identify all the tables and everything else that is in here, and it actually will have all these permissions added into my recording. The recording is a nice way of applying the same permissions multiple places, because if I need the same permission in another place, I just attach the same recording in here. So the secret profiler trace finished importing in here, and if I make this one a little bigger, I'll be able to see more information in here. First of all, I have different server process IDs. I also have different databases. I have different companies in here. So I can go edit this list and say I don't want this one, I don't want the one in the Easy Security company, and just add these permissions in here. So editing a customer actually required 86 or 89 permissions in here. And I can go take a look at my permissions, and I'll see it captured the permissions down to a level if I need to read, insert, modify, even indirect, because it's a flow field that is being calculated. So I attach my new recording, and then I update my role in here. My 189 permissions got to 146 now, and I can see a lot of them in here saying additional. And that's the one the source code analyzer provides. But still, some of them are recorded. This one also include all the pages that were being executed, all the code units, everything that actually ran during this process was recorded, allowing a whole new level of security by also controlling the objects. So, but let's go add this one to our new role group and say that people can also edit customers down here. So go to edit. I now have worked with this one all offline. So the next thing to do is actually to change the permissions in my live environment. And I do that one by publishing permission. And this one is many changes in here. And I'll just hit publish. And as I do that one, we'll first go through several tests to recalculate several pieces of information in here to ensure that everything is right based on the most current source code analysis and other things. And then it's going to create a restore point from the live system and write the new permissions to the live system after that. Creating the restore point allows me to roll back if these permissions are actually wrong, and I can get the right permissions in there easily by rolling back my restore point. Now writing the restore point, and we do one final test that everything is consistent, and then it writes only doing modifications to the data. So if you add new permissions, it will write those. If you delete some, it will take those away. But it will have a fully working security system when it actually updates. So the permission has been updated. And if I just look at restore points, I can actually go in here and see I have a couple of restore points already. I can do a manual one. Create a restore point from live. It basically takes a snapshot as right now, because I just changed a whole bunch of things. And when this one is done, I will show how we actually can compare these permissions also, and showing what is actually changed by user or in any dimension. So I'll go in and say I want to compare. I want to have an extended look at that. I want to look at Windows logins, their access controls, and my roles. And I want to go ahead and compare it against my restore point right before I actually do this one. So when I now click OK, I can see for my Windows access control Peter, I added a whole list of company and role combinations down here. Actually, the same happened for John, because I made John like Peter, and that's why John also was changed. And when I get to the role, I can see down here I have my new edit customers and other things actually edited. But this one concludes part of the roles and logins. The next thing I want to go through is actually the field level and data security. So again, I go into my field level and data security. I need to initially go to the setup. I need to get relations from source code. And this one is actually matching up the pages in the system with the tables underneath, because I'm going to decide by table what I'm actually going to do. So I'm going to use my already created source code analysis. And I then go up here and say I want to look at object properties. I want to look at source tables, because that's where I go in and decide which tables I want these extra features for. And I want them on 15, that is my deal account. I can add them to my deal entries, to my customer card, to my sales line. So I don't want that, so let's get rid of that one. And my sales line. So this one is a table, so I initially want to implement this one. I need to export objects, and to do that one, I can actually set a mark in my objects. I now have put 72 objects where I mark them using the DBM table number. Set that to 1, so I can actually go in here and say, okay, I want now to filter on anything that has DBM table number set to 1, and it has marked these objects because that's where I need to do changes. This one is an initial install, and it requires a partner license because it's going to work on we forgot to change the license here. Or I just needed to actually connect to the database again, because it now has the Mergetool license. Now let's go filter again on DBM table number being 1. Export these ones to text. Then I need to run through and do the changes, and we do that again from 2013 in here. So I'll select my install. And I then want to implement my changes in code. This one is actually doing programming, now goes through the objects, it reads some information from the tables, and then it writes some code in the pages to support these advanced features of being able to control read-only on fields, on pages, actions, and so on. So finish the install wizard. I'm going to import my new objects. And I have my new install file in here, or the out file. That's the pages that has been modified, and also 3 code units in the range of Easy Security. So it's just basically storing some settings. So I can see my pages, and I can see my code units. This one, again, require developer access or a partner license to run this one. But this one is a one-time process, and I can now use the application to limit people's access. So if I now go back and look at it, it already created some field level security code for me. So let's go apply one of those ones. So I'm going to create a new user security setup. And I want to leave the user ID blank actually. And since I have no data in this company, I'm going to use my customer table. So as I now go into customer, it will now all be read only in here. So let's go in and take a look at how my customer now looks. All my menu items are grayed out, and I can't create anything in here. So let's go and open up so I can actually work in my customer table. So instead of, I should select the right user in here, of course. Instead of that one, I'm now going to make a change, and I'm just going to call this one a blank one. And now everything is back looking normal. I can go create a new user or a new customer. So every field is normal up there, and I have everything in my listing. If I go create another setup, I have my read only, but let's go in and say I want to create a new one. I want to copy permissions from my default. I can look at individual objects, and currently I use page 0 in here, and it's set for view, so I can only see the data, but let's go in and say when I get to my customer card, I want to make that editable. And then I can go control the individual fields. And each field in here needs to be view, except the one I select, like address, address to, and I could select more fields. The same thing I can do with controls, making every control view. Could also hide them, of course. Then I'm going to go in and say, okay, it's fine that the statistics is actually editable. That means the user can click on it. So now let's go apply this new setup to my user. I'm going to select this address setup and apply it to my user here down here. So if I now go to my list of customers, this one didn't change because I didn't really do anything different on the list. But when I get to a card, I can see my address fields are available. My statistics up here is also available for me to click, but everything else is grayed out. The last piece in here is an ability to actually go in and also make security based on customers. And I'm just going to make a new one in here. It's going to be a little problem because I can't type in those fields. So let's go remove this one again. Create a new customer, and I'll just call this one B1. And my example will be that this customer, or this person, can only see records where the number is starting with A in here. So I can go in and say, okay, I have my field level security set up, but I can also have a data security set up. And I'm going to create a new one. And I'm just going to call this A only. Again, I can look at individual objects, and I'm just going to apply it to every page in the system in here, basically saying page 0. In any page that shows the customer, I'm going to select the number. I'm going to do a hidden filter. It basically means the user can't see it, they can't remove it. And then I'll go out and say it should be A asterisk. And I can go in here and say, yep, that's the one I want. I want to apply that to my person now. And if I go open up the list of customers, now only the A shows up. You can do this one different for each individual page, of course. There can be different filters on the list than anywhere else. But basically, this one concludes the short overview of the application in here. If you want more information, you can look at our website, or you can look at our YouTube channel where we have a lot of information, both about Easy Security and our other products.